Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Venusian Womb, a womb journey where dreams are seeded, identities are alchemized, and the journey inward begins.
This season, we are honoring a dream in gestation, a womb journey exploring the sacred phase between dreaming and birthing. It's about the phase where something meaningful is taking shape within you, even if you can't see it yet.
I'm Milena.
And I'm Meaghan.
Let's begin by taking a slow, deep breath together. Feel yourself arrive, land in your body.
This is a space to pause, to reflect, to connect, and to grow at your own pace.
We invite you to join us as we sit in conversation, share stories, and explore what it really means to be in the process of becoming. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Venusian Womb podcast. So for this episode, we are going to be navigating some murky waters, some territory that most of us usually will avoid, repress, or just altogether pretend that it does not exist. And that is the exploration of the shadow. So to give you a little bit of a rundown of how this episode is going to go, we're going to start with introducing the shadow. Talk a little bit about how shame is weaved very deeply within the shadow, and also how relationally the shadow shows up when we are in connection with others. We're going to talk about the process of going from shadow to soul. So this constriction to being able to start opening ourselves up and expanding and integrating the shadow in our daily lives. And then from there, we're going to talk a little bit about some application of the shadow. How can we, once we've identified our shadow, how can we start to apply it and integrate it and really truly start embodying the gifts that are in the shadow? Because truly there are some beautiful gifts and light in there. We just gotta get in there and really, really start opening ourselves up to it. So before we get into this episode, I'm going to have Meaghan drop us into our body so we can soften and start to open up to this territory.
Which I'm actually going to do it a little bit differently today because of this theme of the shadow. I don't want to change our states. I don't want to relax us, or I want us to stick with the sensations that are coming up just as we're speaking of the shadow. Mostly because, I don't want to change our states. That's really not what I want to do right now. I want us to be able to stick with the icky feelings and the resistance and all of it and be here and not be like, okay, we're going to move to something different. So I'm not even going to invite people to close their eyes. I want you to just notice, as Milena was just speaking, the word shadow. And knowing that you might have some knowledge about this. You might have none. You might just have a lingering sensation in the body of, ooh, the shadow. The shadow is dark. What does the shadow mean? Or having your own idea of what the shadow is. And just feeling where in your body that's evoking some sensations. I'm noticing my throat. I'm feeling the need to clear. Like there's already a heaviness and a lump there. I'm feeling the jitters in my fingers, the hollow in my stomach. And I just want you to note and body map the cues in your own body of what's present right here, right now, knowing that you're about to listen to an episode on the shadow. And where there's shadow, there's shame. And just taking some deep breaths here. Anywhere you're feeling any tightness, restriction, tension, heaviness, ickiness, and just creating space for it to be here because it is welcome. It is telling us something about the shadow, and we don't want to just push it away. We're not trying to clear it. We're here to meet it. Excellent. So before we start talking more about the shadow, I want to speak to how difficult it has been for Milena and I to record this damn episode. If there's something we do want to express to all of you is after journeying and facilitating women's circles for the past 2 years, we have we journey with energy. Whatever theme we choose that we're going to journey with in a circle, a podcast episode, because it is something we are moving through internally, it is also showing up externally. So the past 2-3 weeks, I would say, as we've been trying to record this episode, the first ones where we were banging them out every
Like
2 days.
butter.
They were just flowing. But the shadow has proven to be heavy. It has proven to uncover a lot of things in both of our subconsciouses that we were not looking at before 3 weeks ago. And it makes it really hard to come and speak about something when we're also facing, we're in like the mud of it, the yuck, like the murky waters Milena was talking about. So we've been in the murky waters. We're still in the murky waters, but I think we're both more integrated in it and ready to speak on the shadow and be a little bit vulnerable about what we've been moving through personally, as this theme has been quite present for both of us. I don't know if you have something you want to add to that.
Honestly, thank you. I just want to say that it's so interesting to be able to, like you said, journey through this energy. And in journeying through it, it's really just setting the intention of exploring this in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like in our day, it's like, oh, okay, this is the energy that I'm connecting to, setting that intention. Sometimes there's been moments where I've been like actively journeying through my shadow because of externally the things that are happening in my life. Someone triggers me, or I'm finally at this place where I'm ready to take a next step forward with shadow exploration that may require a change in me. And
Mm-hmm.
in these external things happening, it also is drawing us into reflection and drawing us into sitting with the shadow, because absolutely, I would not be actively journeying with the shadow for 2 weeks straight.
Mm-mm.
However, life happens. Life happens, and it does require us to sit with these parts, especially when they're feeling activated. And so just to give a little bit of context of how exactly we journey through this energy, and this is also something that, following this episode, you can do and set the intention, even if it's just for today or just for 10 minutes after this, to see what is activated within yourself and just give it some time to be with it without needing to fix it, without making it wrong. Just just allowing yourself to have radical honesty and compassion to be able to see it with non-judgmental eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's time for us to introduce it. Do you want to
Are we
take
going
us
to
off,
define the
Megan?
shadow? Absolutely.
Ooh.
So we'll start by defining what is the shadow? What is this big thing that we're talking about in this episode that we've given a huge introduction
Doom
to?
and gloom.
So the shadow is a term coined by the psychologist Carl Jung, and essentially is what it is the parts of ourselves that we've hidden, that we've deemed unworthy of love, that we've shoved into our unconscious, we've exiled, we've shamed. We genuinely do not know even exist, that we're not even aware that these are parts of ourselves, or we're aware but we're so ashamed and we will hide them. We will do everything in our power to make sure that nobody around us sees, notices, or even knows they exist. But the problem with this is that these are still parts of us. These are really, really actually important parts of us. There's a huge paradox here that the parts that we put in our shadow are the parts that need to be witnessed the most. And that is what the shadow is. It's these parts that are, if you think of that iceberg analogy of like you have your consciousness and your subconscious on the bottom, the shadow is everything underneath the eyes line. We don't see it. We're not aware of it. And that's the shadow. It's all those pieces go.
I do want to say it's yes, it's in the subconscious, but there are certain situations, like I said, where it will activate a part of you.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't even know what the activation is. Like there's kind of this murkiness of like, okay, I'm feeling triggered. This is the thing that triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
But now from there, it's kind of starting to actually have discernment with self. And like, this is where the sitting without needing to fix or change comes in, of just being able to understand. Just
Mm-hmm.
with loving curiosity, there is an openness that is required to witness yourself, to even understand what exactly is being activated within you.
Mm.
And it can be It can be confusing sometimes. Sometimes you're activated and you don't know. You don't know. You just know that it may be related to this. So whatever that this is. But it really is something that once there is some awareness, right? The shadow is what's in the dark. The dark is the absence of light. So when we're activated, there's almost like this little speckle of light that starts to shine within us. And it might just be a little pinhole of light, but it's light. There's light there. It's already kind of been dropped into our awareness. And this is where the shadow integration in terms of this exploring comes in, where it's like now at least we there is a part of us pinpointed in our consciousness that knows that it's there. And as you continue to just get curious, there might be another follow-up experience that may trigger a similar part because now your consciousness is much more focused on it. It knows that it's there now. And then that
Mhm.
clarity starts to form a bit more. And this is where we're able to have a lot more discernment as we're exploring this territory of like understanding what it is that is there. And
Mhm.
I do have this analogy, which I feel like is so incredibly helpful, is when we're in the shadow, these parts of ourselves that we've never accepted or just even claimed or seen, it kind of's like this like knot. It's like a knot, and
Mhm.
there's all these things in the darkness of this knot. We can't see it. Sometimes we don't know why it's there. We don't know what parts of us are being triggered or where it came from. Not that that really matters. We'll talk about that. But it's a knot. It's a knot, and it's just like, what is this? I just know I'm uncomfortable, and I know that this is something that I don't know about myself. And it's helpful because once we start shining light onto this knot, we can start to see, where do these layers of shadow overlap? And
Mhm.
it's so helpful to be able to have support, to have our own support in witnessing and not judging ourselves and holding loving space for ourselves as much as we can, because we are human, we are flawed. It's just the beauty of this human experience. So let's normalize that. We all have a shadow. But it's like and even just having support from others, we're able to start to like untangle this knot, and we can see all the different layers that are here. And it doesn't feel like this big, scary, dark cloud over our
Mhm.
heads. It starts to feel like something that we can see the individual layers. We can start to understand where the shadow really was first hidden. And from there start to it going from this like murky cloud of just confusion and discomfort of like, it's too much. I don't even want to see
Mhm.
any of it, to starting to then uncover the different layers of it. And I feel like that analogy is so helpful because it's like from
Mhm.
this knot to then being able to like discern what it is
Mhm.
and having someone help you untangle that knot so you can actually see it. Because sometimes yourself, you can't, it's hard to untangle the knot. And this is where we will talk about this. And I feel like this kind of brings us into this whole theme of shame with the shadow because
Mhm.
this is where we need to be witnessed. This is where we kind of need support because other people can shine light on these parts of ourselves as well. Even if they don't know, your lived experience to that degree, they know you. And so it's helpful to have that, to have a mirror in this process of shadow exploration as well.
There was so much juice there and golden nuggets, and, like, I'm like, "Oh, I could go on a tangent here and a tangent there and a tangent there." There's, like, 3 things that really stood out to me. There was one thing you when you first started talking that the shadow is not something to be fixed, and I wanna be so crystal
Mm,
clear on that. The shadow is just it's uncovering more parts of yourself to come more into your wholeness,
mhm.
and it's not a part of you that needs to be fixed. And I wanna, like, everyone to just take a breath that your shadow does not need to be fixed. It just needs to be seen. It just needs to be untangled and witnessed, and the light just needs to be, shined on it because then once the light is there, it can't go back to the shadow. You can't really pretend it's not there anymore. But shaming yourself and making it feel like it's something wrong and bad and unworthy, there's like this need to fix, like, "Oh, I need to fix myself." And I think our Our capitalistic culture really, really loves this about us.
Let me sell you all these things to fix yourself, to fix your shadow.
It loves the shadow. It feeds on the shadow. And I really want us all to just take in for a moment that our shadow does not need to be fixed. It just needs to be witnessed, as Milena said, with as much love and understanding and compassion as possible. So that was the first thing I wanted to piggyback on from. And the second, I don't remember what she said, but there was something I want to give a little bit of a share of how the shadow can show up before we dive into shame. Well, this kind of ties into shame because I guess there's shame here. There's always shame when we're talking about the shadow. But not noticing these things that we do. And I'm going to give a little bit of a personal story that has come through this shadow work. So what I've recently learned that I've actually just integrated probably yesterday, I shut down when I'm in shame, when I'm in my shadow. I isolate and pull away from the world, from social media, from everything. And in my mind, I think I'm talking, I think I'm sharing, but it has been clearly brought to my attention by both Milena and my partner, who had little interventions. They don't talk to each other, but they both did it very simultaneously and lovingly said, "Hey, Meaghan, start talking."
You have a wall that has no door, no windows. Like I can't even look in. Like completely closed off in every sense of the way.
And I've noticed that when I come acquainted with a part of my shadow, that's what I do. That is my first reaction to, oh my God, I'm not lovable. I need to hide from the world because I haven't accepted this part yet. I'm facing it. I'm seeing it. But my first reaction when I meet the shadow, or a part of my shadow that I've never met before, is shut down. I put up walls so high, like Milena said, no one's getting in. I'm not even getting out unless somebody
That's the
bulldozes their ways in.
You're not getting out.
I can't even get out,
to say.
which gets very scary because I don't even realize I've put these walls up. And it takes a lot for me to, and then I usually get to a point in my shadow where I'm spiraling so much, and I've gotten to this point where these walls are so high and I'm so deep in that victim of like, poor me, poor me. Nobody knows that that's what's going on in my head, but that's what's going on in my head. And when I realize, oh my God, I don't want to be here anymore. And I have love that comes in, that light that pierces through somehow it finds its way in. Then I'm able to take a deep breath in it. I'm able to be like, oh shit, I'm in shame. Oh shit, I'm really deep in my shadow. And thank God that something was able to pierce its way in, because then the minute that little beam of light comes through, more is able to make its way in. And that is something that has been very real and new that I've uncovered as we've been journeying with the shadow this time around. And I also want to speak to exactly what pieces, like we kind of talked about what the shadow is by defining it, but your shadow can be thoughts. It could be past experiences. It could be suppressed emotions. It could be just these triggers. There's so many things that the shadow can be. And I do want people to see it as like, yes, these parts of ourselves that we're hiding, but also behaviors that we have, actions that we do. And we're really trying to give this lens of these are not bad things you're doing, or these actually were adaptive strategies that we're going to talk about a little bit more later. But they have protected you in the past, but then they get in the way of you connecting with yourself and then connecting with others.
They protect you so much that you've closed yourself off from any type of like just being received by others. And you know, I do want to say I kind of see there's this, it's like I see when you were talking, Meaghan, about these walls and these protective mechanisms, because the walls are there to protect you. It's there to protect you from being witnessed, because it's like, oh, this is way too much for anyone. And it's also a way of protecting others, because it's like, I'm too much. Like, I'm not in a good state. I don't want to give people this energy. Right. And so it kind of goes both ways. as well as when we imagine these walls, it's like there's these walls around us, yes, and like they may have no doors, no windows, it may be a concrete wall, but the top of it, like the ceiling, that's open. That's open. And if you can have someone that's able to sit with you in it
Mhm.
and probe a little bit, you know, with love, it's like, I love you and this is a safe space and you can bring yourself here. Like sometimes it really just takes that creating a container, creating a safe space with a connection, even if it's just with a friend or even with yourself. Just to be able to start to let the light kind of go in through the top. It starts to trickle in, trickle in. And then that's when we start to open up a little bit more.
Mhm.
So we're not in this closed box completely. Absolutely not. The top is free, but we really gotta create that more of that safety for ourselves and reassurance to be able to let the light in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I do want to speak a little bit more to this piece on shame. And for anyone that is currently understanding even how shame is showing up for you, Brene Brown is an incredible resource to be able to understand a bit more about shame. And also within the understanding of shame and how it shows up within ourselves, how can we bring love to our shame? Because the shame is there. The shame is there to make us feel that we are the problem, to make us feel that we are too much, that we are broken. And it makes us the problem rather than the
Mhm.
thing that is triggering us, rather than, you know, the lived experience. Cause like there's a reason that the shadow is there. The shadow is ultimately a protective mechanism that we've created in our lives to with the intention of keeping us safe. And so it's when we're able to have more compassion for that part of ourselves, we're able to see that there is no right and wrong. The shadow itself innately is not, it's not wrong. It does serve a purpose. And it's really about integrating that. That way it's not closing us off from connection and closing us off from ourselves. And
Mhm.
so I did want to speak about this. Like this is the shame that kind of makes us the problem. And when we're making ourselves the problem, then this is when we start to isolate because we're wrong.
Mhm.
So if we are wrong innately, then we don't want anyone to access that. We don't want anyone to see that. And this is also where a lot of that performativeness comes up.
Mhm.
You know, like God forbid I'm in the thick of my shadow and someone asks me, "How are you?" I'm like, "Oh boy." Oh boy, like there's okay, wow. I can't even perform through that sometimes. Like I'm just like I don't know. I have this response. And it's so interesting to be able to just hold space for this part of ourselves. Um and really just create that safety and reassure ourselves that we are not the problem here. The shadow is not something to be fixed because it's it's not something that is innately bad. It's just something that needs love. These are the parts of ourselves that need love the most.
Mhm.
And so it's like when we're going about it from this place of shame, we're making ourselves wrong and we're judging ourselves. And then that just kind of keeps us even more stuck in this I'm wrong, rather than just being able to hold loving space and be like, okay, this had a purpose and it's here and it's a part of ourselves. And it's also human. It's human. Everyone has a shadow. Everyone has a shadow and everyone has parts of themselves that they deem are unlovable. So it's helpful. It's helpful to normalize this conversation a little bit
Mhm.
and to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. It's part of being human.
Mhm. I definitely wanna down the shame. Um,
Me too, girly.
I definitely wanna add that I want us to kind of picture shame. Actually, I'm gonna invite everybody to take a deep breath first.
Mm,
I want us to picture shame as this gateway to our shadow. That shame is typically right the shame is covering and blocking the shadow. And the shame comes in, especially I want us to talk about how do these things get put into the shadow? How do we exile and shame them and shun them and send them to this shadow land? And a lot of the times when we bring parts of ourselves, or we bring a fullness of us that is not accepted, that is not loved, or feels like it's of belonging, we then cast that out to the shadow, because then we are taught in that moment when we bring that part of us, oh my goodness, it is not safe for me to be me in this way. I need to put this away. And I do want to add to this piece as we're talking about shame. One of our core needs as human is our sense of belonging, to feel like we belong. And that's why shame is so freaking heavy, why shame is so alienating and isolating and icky, 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 icky. It's painful. Shame can feel physically painful because when we feel like we don't belong, when we feel like we cannot connect with others, especially when us, our actual, of who we really are, is wrong and inherently bad, that is the most painful thing in the world, because then we have to mask, then we have to pretend
Mhm.
and shape shift into something we're not to get the love we think that we are wanting,
Mhm.
or the love that we want. We are shape shifting into that. And how we learn to put all these things in the shadow. And like, yes, how I've learned to put up these walls is because there's a lot of these parts of me that I don't deem are going to be lovable or met with and seen with love. And we do get this from growing up as children with our primary caregivers. And I want to be very clear, I'm not pointing our fingers at our parents, because a lot of this is very generational. How we are loved is, or how we are loved by our parents is how they were loved, and how their parents were loved is like, it is just this perpetuation of how, with the skills and sets. And a lot of times there's so much misinformation about how to raise children.
Mhm.
Like in the past, we used to tell parents, like, don't go to your child if they're crying.
Mhm.
And there's all these things that we're not blaming anybody. We're just wanting to bring awareness of how this happens. So as a child, if you have a particular need, or you bring a particular part of yourself that is then shamed or told, don't do that, that's too much, we are implicitly and explicitly getting cues from our environment and the people that are taking care of us constantly on how to behave to receive love. And in this ways, we are learning, okay, so this is acceptable behavior. This is unacceptable behavior. Okay, when this part of me comes out, I'm ignored, or people don't respond to me, I won't bring that part out anymore. Or when this part comes out, I'm really, really, like, they think I'm really funny. So I should maybe start being more funny so that people are going to give me more attention and give me more love. And
Mhm.
it's all just because we want to belong. It's all because we want to be connected. This is all about connection. And then the big piece with this, why sharing shame and talking about shame and having these conversations is so important, is because connection is what cures shame,
Yep.
bringing it to the light, talking about it. And shame is a relational wound. This is all about wounding. And because these woundings come up in relationship with people, the only way to cure it, to heal it, is to bring it back into relationship and to be loved in it. And that's why we're talking about this. This is a big part of the work that Milena and I do in women's circles, that we're going to be
Mhm.
bringing to our collective, that we're bringing to this podcast, is we want to heal these parts of us that have been suppressed and cast out, and give them love, give them curiosity, and show them that they are so, so, so welcome here. And there's so much magic in these parts of us. When we connect to these parts of ourselves, we are able to bring forth more of us, more of our creation, and we're able to be met. Our fullness is actually able to be met and loved and held, and
Mhm.
it's not as messy and scary and not worthy and bad as we feel it is in our minds and our bodies. So that's the piece I wanted to add on
Ooh.
shame.
Wow. That was, oh, goosebumps. I could not have said that better. And I feel like, we're going into this, what is the shadow work? What is the exploration of the shadow? Like, how do we actually work with this? And I,
Mhm.
I want to share how Megan and I worked through the shadow. When we just started connecting, like, Venusian Womb did not exist at this point. We did not even think about doing women's circles at this point. We, we just our friendship, like our sisterhood has healed so many parts of my shadow and so many parts of myself, generally, shadow, not shadow. We had this day that we got together. We would get together every single Tuesday. We had a little womb cave that we would go to in the forest. And, you know, we had this one particular day. I don't remember what archetype we were working through, but shame was coming up. There was so much shame that was coming up.
The mother wound.
Yes, it was the mother wound. It was the nurturance. And because
Mhm.
our mother is who we derive our safety from, right? Like they are the ones that we're dependent on them when we grow up. And so we were journeying with the mother archetype. We're in our womb cave, and we both had a moment where we're like, oh boy, we're drowning in shame. And that means that we have to go into it. And I remember we did this practice of like, we're sitting together, we're in this little womb cave. So we feel like we feel this protection, by being in this
Mhm.
little hut. And it's just me and her. We're in the forest. We're sitting on dirt, on the ground. We're grounded. And we were both just like, okay, mind you. Megan and I had known each other for like, I don't even know, like
This
a
was our third
third
time hanging out,
hangout.
just me and you.
Like it was one of the very early stages of our friendship. And we were both just like, okay, we're going to express our shame. We're going to have a shame share right now. And we both prompted ourselves. We're like, okay, what's the thing that you hold the most shame around? That right now, bam, comes to mind right now in this moment. And I remember like the sensations. And mind you, again, we're not pointing fingers, but I've not had a safe space that I truly felt a person that could hold me. And what I feel is like the worst part of me. I'm like, this is like absolutely massive. It's way too much. I don't know how anyone could possibly even sit in this part of myself with me or like
Mhm.
love me through it, let alone sit with me in it. And we both sat and expressed whatever came through in that moment it held this like deepest anger of shame within our body. And I
Mhm.
remember shaking, like my voice was shaking as I was
Mhm.
speaking to my shame. My body was like so anxious. It's debilitating. And it was so helpful. We were just like putting our hands on each other's legs, holding each other. And there was just such a beautiful reassurance and just
Mhm.
such a beautiful presence. And we shared our shame. We shared our shame. And that was very hard. There were
Mhm.
many tears shed. There were many, like just the rejection and the resistance. And we got through it. And it was so beautiful in that moment, like in real time, I could feel the weight of the shame dissipating.
Mhm.
And also realizing that my perspective of this part of myself was so distorted because I felt that this part was completely unlovable. And Megan, the way that speaking about like my personal experience, the way that you held space for me and held me through that shame, and you were like, this is okay. This is loved. And
Mhm.
this is beautiful to witness you in this level of vulnerability and just to see this part of you is beautiful. And that healed in that moment, healed so much pain, so
Mhm.
much hurt, so much shame, so much rejection. And that's like years worth of shame.
Mhm.
Years. We carry the shame in our body. We carry the shame in our psyche. The way that we speak to ourselves, the way that we treat ourselves, the way that we relate. Like you said, that chameleoning, it's because we're making ourselves wrong, that we
Mhm.
could never be ourselves because then we wouldn't be loved. And in that moment, that was one of the most impactful practices that like I still have this vivid
Mhm.
memory. Like I can drop into that moment again like this
It's
because of
visceral. Yeah.
how impactful, how energetically impactful. Like that is a moment that is forever ingrained because that was one of the first times that I felt like truly embraced for
Mhm.
like who I am.
Mhm. And I think a big cue that I have in my body from that moment that brings me back viscerally is how much I was in the shame sharing it, and I couldn't even look at you, and I couldn't believe I was even saying it.
Uh-huh.
And then, because I love eye contact, I love looking at people's, I know that when I'm not looking someone in the eyes is because I'm sharing shame. And when I met you and you were still there, and you didn't look disgusted, you didn't look angry, you didn't look like, "Oh my god, that's horrible." You stayed, you were there, and I was like, "Oh wow, this shit's powerful."
Powerful.
It is so powerful to be met in a space where you felt you had to hide and bury and make sure, and it was your life mission to make sure nobody ever saw,
Mhm.
and to be met and loved there.
And objectively, that was just two girlies hanging out.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we were doing. And it's so interesting because I feel like sometimes, when we're talking about shadow work, we're being so in our head about it. We make it seem like it's this whole process and it's all this work and there's so much that we have to do. And it's just like, whoa, honestly, a huge part of this is just be witnessed, be with, and just allow, get out of like, let the walls open a window in the wall, just a window, right? We don't have to let the whole wall down. We don't have to share all of the darkest parts of ourselves. And again, I do want to say also that when we are in this shame sharing, right? Yes, we are talking about the lived experience that has caused the shame. Like it's kind of like that's where the shame has originated from, is from the lived experience. However, we don't want to get stuck in the story.
Mm-mm.
We don't want to get stuck in the story. We want to focus on how that lived experience has made us feel and how that lived experience energetically is still living inside of us. And so, yes, the story is something that will inevitably be part of exploring the shame. But the more that we fixate on the story, the less that we're fixating and focusing on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I remember I brought so much humiliation into that cave, and just sitting in the humiliation with you, or being witnessed in sitting in the humiliation of like allowing myself to feel.
Mhm. And I'm talking the ugly cries, the ugly
Oh, the
cries,
ugly
like the
cries. The goobers,
the
the
goobers
snot running
all
down.
everywhere, everywhere. But when you allow yourself to just be messy, there is no
Mhm.
performance. It's really, truly like I am just allowing my humanity, my raw humanity to just be present and for that to be allowed. And honestly, it was a safe space too. We're two girls. We're alone. We're in the forest. We're contained by this beautiful wooden hut, so we're not like exposed out in the open. And it's just when we're able to create a container, a space for ourselves where we're able to create more of that safety. Had we
Mhm.
been, I don't know, like in the street of like downtown Toronto, or even just like in a
No.
public park where like there's a lot of foot traffic, there's no way that we would have been able to actually go into that territory and
Mm-mm.
actually been able to like bare our souls, because we're thinking about how we're being perceived, right? We're not in an environment that is conducive of that safety and that softening.
Mhm.
And so this is something that's also incredibly important when we're starting to explore our shadows, right? Is what's the environment that you're in to
Yeah.
actually, and is it conducive for you to be able to feel that you have a space, a private space where you can witness these parts. And some things that might be helpful, having some fluffy guys, having some fluffy stuffies, super helpful. Like when I'm talking about creating this more of this safety for yourself or for another friend, if you're doing this together, is talk to your inner child. Talk to your inner child and connect to that part of yourself of what does your inner child need to feel safer. For me,
Mhm.
that looks like having these stuffies, having these little guys around me, having a blanket, making sure I have water, maybe some cold water, maybe some tea, some pillows. Usually I'll kind of like nest. I'll like create a little nest for myself on the ground. Maybe the light is like way too overstimulating. I want to be in some like lower ambient lighting or have some candles. Maybe I want to get some like essential oil. Lavender is such a soothing scent for me.
sure.
Okay, maybe I play some music and there's some binaural beats and that's soothing, right? Like all of these things allow our body to soften so we can
Mm-hmm.
even really go into this territory and feel it's not going to feel safe because we're already exploring this part of ourselves that, right, we've deemed wrong, we've repressed, we've made too much. But if we're able to create that safety, more of that safety in our external environment, it's so supportive to reflect that into our internal state.
Mm-hmm. And then it like just it allows the shadow to act as a mirror for integration. It allows us to be radically honest with ourselves. And like you said, it allows us to open to the experience and to be with all the feelings that we're typically trying to run or that puts us into fight or flight and actually be like, oh, wait a minute. I don't need to have all these protections right now because they served in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not serving right now. They're actually getting in the way of what I'm wanting right now.
And it's a right
And
now in this
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
It's not, I don't need these protections now in my life moving forward. It's, I don't need these protections
in
just
this moment.
right now in this moment.
That is so, yes, that's a really good piece to add. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we want to
I do
speak
want to
about.
say that a huge part of this, there's got to be that radical honesty because there are so many different strategies that our brain, our ego, ultimately
Mhm.
it's our ego. Our ego is like, I've created this identity for myself. This is who I am. I am perfect. This is what I'm showing to the world. And so when we're integrating our shadow, our ego feels threatened because
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this is also part of me. And this also. And when the ego feels threatened, this is where again, like there's these strategies of like, oh, let me dissociate. Let me
Yeah.
let me not go as deep.
The mask of perfectionism.
The mask of perfectionism. Yep. The ego
The
loves
armor
that.
of I'm fine. All's
I'm
good.
fine. I'm
Let's
fine.
just keep working.
Let's just yeah,
Let's just
Megan
keep
loves
working.
that. Let's just
let's
let's just
just let's
not
just
talk about
work.
me. We're talking about me way too much. She's like, no, we're not though. That's
Mm.
okay. We're allowed. And that's the
Mm.
thing is that, we will even lie to ourselves. Like there are so many ways that we will continue to avoid this part of ourselves. And there is a radical honesty. There's a radical honesty that is required in this process of like,
Mhm.
I can't lie to myself anymore. I can't lie to myself anymore. And I can't be something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And in that radical honesty, there's a reclamation because you're not
Mhm.
bypassing those parts anymore. And
You're
it's,
yeah. You're
mhm,
allowing yourself to come into fullness,
mm,
into your complete into there's an integrity that comes in. When we're
mhm,
operating from our shadow, it's really hard for us to be in integrity with ourselves because it's a performance. A lot of it is performing and isn't really true to who we are at our core. And I want to link this back to gestating the dream and the womb and all of that because that's what we're here for. And that is the shame, I would almost say, is the biggest element that can get in the way between you and your dream. When you don't think you are good enough, when you don't think you are worthy, when all of these things get in the way of you being the version of yourself that is required to co-create the dream, to live the dream,
mhm,
that is where the shame really, really comes in. And that's that in the way, that little guy that's standing on the bridge of like, you shall not pass. That that's how our dream is like right on the other side. And we have to be radically honest with ourselves and we have to look in the mirror and face what's coming up and not keep running from it. And the best way to be doing that is with others because doing it alone, I want to argue doing it alone is like impossible because you will stay in your little fort for the rest of eternity. Um, but really being in connection with others is going to be so healing for this process so that you don't stay stuck there and so that these parts of yourself can be integrated so that you can feel whole and you can feel loved for who you really, really are, who you authentically are. It's just coming into more authenticity, coming more into yourself And that sounds pretty great.
You know, when you've already gone through the murkiness of it, being on the other side, I've I've journeyed through some really, really unlovable parts of myself in this process of hosting these women's circles, of going through the process of journeying through these different energetic themes, because there's always some type of shadow that will come up. And honestly, it's been through this process that there's been a reclamation of self.
Mm-hmm.
And what people can relate to the most is your humanity. We are all human. And yes, we come from different paths of life, different lived experiences. You know, we're born into different parts of the world where we're exposed to different types of privilege and challenges and adversity. But what we all have in common is that we're all human. And this is just part of being human. And it's a part of our humanity, of our human experience that we don't talk about enough because it's heavy. And again, like this, ultimately, it's in the reclamation of our wholeness, of our full selves, that we're able to be more magnetic. We're able to be more
Mm-hmm.
relatable. Like people are able to actually connect with you more because you're not performing. You know, like I know I go online and I see all of these different highlights of people's lives and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. But it's hard for me to relate. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
for me to relate to it a lot of the times because I'm like, but this isn't just it. It's not just this love and light.
Mm-mm.
And when
Mm.
we're able,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we will use that to bypass. Let's be in the love and light because this feels good. And this is such a beautiful energy to connect on. But it's like, oof, but there are gifts. There's gifts when we're able to actually break a little bit. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we allow ourselves to break, when we allow ourselves to fall apart, we're able to like, it's kind of like this analogy of like when your heart breaks, it breaks open. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to hold more love for yourself. And because of that, you're able to hold so much more love for others. The more love that we can hold within ourselves, the more of our shadow that we can be present to, the more that we are able to do that for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were able to come into our humanity and realize that we're all human and we're all just doing our best. And yes, we're all flawed. We are all flawed. We all have lived experience that still has these energetic imprints within us. And that's that energy, like that authenticity is magnetic. That authenticity allows you to feel more of your own wholeness. And through that embodiment, we're able to fuel the dream. That integrated part of self, it gives us power. It gives us resilience of like, yes, I have these parts of me, but they're allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes us resilient to life. It makes us resilient to rupture and connections. It makes us resilient to adversity because there will always be a life experience that is going to trigger you or is going to show you a part of yourself that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to fall apart. It's okay to break a little bit because on the other side of that, there's a breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. And in that, in this like gestating the dream, there's like this clearing of the soil, like the shadow is like pulling the weeds.
Mhm.
It's creating space so that we can root down, so that we can have a solid foundation that's just
Mm.
not going to tipple topple over. Because if
Yes.
you're building something on shame, there's nothing sturdy there.
Nope.
It's all going to fall down. And you want to really be able to clear it all. Maybe not all, because there's always, I don't want to make it sound like this is a, you do this once and it never happens again. This is a spiral.
It's an active
This is a
process.
spiral. It's a process. You're going to come back to it over and over again. But if you're met with shame and you don't acknowledge it and you keep going, this is something that it's going to keep coming up and it's going to get in the way. It's going to prevent you from being able to move further in whatever process you're in. And can be in dreams, projects, relationships, all of it. I am hitting a huge, huge part of myself in my relationship right now that I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I the problem? Not that I'm the problem, but we were having a
Am I
couple
causing the
arguments. Am I
chaos?
causing the chaos? I used to be the one that was stuck in the chaos, and now I'm the one causing the chaos.
But also, it'll fluctuate, because
It
again,
does. It does.
we're all
It's
human. We all cause a little bit of
but
chaos sometimes.
noticing how in those arguments, I'm like, I'm the one that's in the right. I'm not causing any chaos right now, but being able to take a step back and be like, wait, what part
Actually.
did I play? What part was my shadow playing in this that brought us to the level of chaos we were in?
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I do want to, I feel like we've shared a lot of helpful ways of how to work with the shadow. And I feel like in the most simplest of ways, breath, sound, movement. Breath,
Mhm.
sound, movement. This is the trinity. This is the trinity of how we can alchemize so many of these parts of ourselves is, again, breath work. Slowing down. When we are navigating the shadow, there's an activation. It's
Mhm.
inevitable. It's part of the process. And this is why it feels uncomfortable. And this is usually right when the activation happens, boop, we check out.
Yep.
So slowing down your breath, slowing down your exhales, maybe even doing the 2 breaths in, 1 breath out. Super helpful. Box breathing, breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4, breathing out for 4 counts, holding for 4. You can do 4, you can do 7, you can do 8. Whatever feels supportive for you, listen to your body. Breathwork is an incredible avenue to be able to ground ourselves through the discomfort. It's not going to make the discomfort go away. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll still probably
It's
feel,
not going away.
that's why we have all the stuffies and all the comfort things, because like it's not going to make the discomfort go away, but you'll be much more supported and grounded through it. And it will
And
pass. I promise you it'll pass.
it'll give more choice
Yes.
to respond as opposed to react to the feelings that are being activated within the discomfort or whatever emotion that's present that's so uncomfortable. Um, damn, I had something I wanted to say, but I lost it. You keep
If
going.
it trickles back in, you let me know.
I will let you know.
Sounding tantrum. Grab a pillow. Scream into it. Hum to yourself. Humming. It soothes our vagus nerve just by humming. And I found this very helpful practice. You plug your ears. I can't really do it right now, but you plug your ears, you put your hands over your face and you just, and when you're plugging your ears, you're actually you're able to hear the vibration, and you're vibrating your entire your entire head cavity, your chest cavity. And this is such an incredible practice to be able to support the nervous system through that activation. Sound is also expressing, having people that you can speak to and giving it words, letting it come out.
I
Even
want
if
to add with the tantrum to move
Mhm.
to, like, yes, the sound, but throw pillows, hit pillows.
Mm,
If you need to throw your body and freaking bang on your chest and throw your arms and swing and throw an actual tantrum with your
tantrum.
body, do it. It's really supportive.
We would
But
do this
also,
as
again, the space.
kids.
We would do this as kids. But as Milena said, like before, the space, being able
Mhm.
to let go and do that in a space where you feel safe to do it is a requirement to throwing a tantrum, unfortunately.
Breath, sound, movement. Again, engage the body. Engage the body, throw your tantrum, make sure you're in a space where you're comfortable to do that. Even if that means just like a somatic shake, like just shake viscerally. When animals
Yeah,
are being chased by their predator, what do they do after? They shake because there's all this trauma and
discharge.
activation stuck in the body that's how they discharge. And we are literally animals. We are complex. We think we're so evolved in all these things, but ultimately there are primitive parts of human beings. And there's so much that we can learn from the animal kingdom. And so again, the somatic shaking, even just if any type of movement that is supportive for you, running, weightlifting, yoga, swimming, just move your body because that is going to move the energy. It's going to discharge energy, and it's also just going to let the energy flow.
Uh-huh.
We don't want to stay stagnant. And I'm not saying immediately after an activation, because sometimes we've exhausted ourselves, we're emotionally exhausted, and we don't feel we have energy. So again, tailor the movement to what your energy level is in that present moment,
Uh-huh.
but absolutely engage your body because the body holds a score. The body will hold trauma and just energetic imprints from difficult experiences. And we need to engage the body in this as well.
And as you like, I want to bring it back to like when we were sitting in the womb cave, when we were in the cave sharing shame and shaking. It's releasing trauma, and we have to let our bodies release the trauma. We can't keep holding it. So allowing the body, and whatever your body wants to do, let it do it. It intuitively knows what it needs to do, and it
Hmm.
might make no sense to your logical mind, but
Do it anyways.
trust the wisdom that your body has, because it's doing something to discharge. And you might feel like you need to just roll, or you might want to move your hips, or you might want to just rest and let your body just be. Do it. Trust the wisdom that your body is feeding you, because it is so wise and it knows so much. Um
I think that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. I want to say one last thing. Shadow work is a homecoming to yourself. It's a remembrance.
Mhm.
It's, wow, I had no idea I was doing that. And instead of going like, "Oh my god, I'm bad," it's get curious. Get curious about your shadow, because that's how it's going to help you move through it. It's going to help you see it and integrate it and bringing it in, and then be able to share it with somebody else as well. And I do want to one more thing. Share it with someone you trust.
Mhm.
Sharing shame with just anyone
Mm-mm.
is a recipe for disaster, because they might double shame you. And then you're going to be even more in the hole than you originally were in the hole, and that's not going to be any fun. So when sharing shame, we've been talking a lot about share shame with others, but share it with someone you trust. That is so important. You don't want to just be sharing your shame with anyone. Not that you would anyways, because we feel shameful for it and it's hard to share shame.
I got to do
But
another disclaimer is
go.
if you feel like the shame or what's being activated within you involves another person, don't share it with them. Don't try your best to find another safe space that you can share, or safer space to share it with, because inevitably if that trigger is involving another person,
It's going to
and
trigger
like
them.
it's going to trigger them as well. Right. And it can create shame for them as well. Like if Meaghan is sharing her shame, but I'm not connected to that story. I'm able to hold space because it's not personal to me. So that's also another thing, because again, like it's shame is it's a trickster. And even if we feel that we have someone that we can share it with, if they're activated, they may also be stuck in that shame spiral, and it's harder for them to hold space.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, until there's like an integration of the
Mhm.
shame you're sharing, that you can maybe come into a repair with someone and speak very vulnerably about it, then yeah, sharing with somebody that is not involved is most likely
Much
more ideal,
helpful.
much more helpful to help with the integration process of it and to just feel held in it. So on that note, thank you for listening to our episode on shame. We made it through. I can't believe it. We made it
Thank
through.
God. It
Um,
flowed.
there's definitely so much more we could say, and we will be saying more in the collective as we're going to go deeper into shame. We're going to have some journal prompts, some activities, not activities, practices is what I wanted to say. I guess they could be called activities too. Um, and we're just going to be gathering together as women, talking about this, going deeper into it. We're going to have our circles to go deeper into this. So if you feel like you want to go further, you want more support with this, join our collective. Um, I'm like lost at what to say. Oh, our next episode. Our next
Ooh.
episode is on the inner child.
Yeah.
We're going to
So
be talking
the
about the
inner
inner
child
child.
is the gateway. The inner child is the gateway to be able to access these edgy parts of ourselves. So we're going to be bringing some more playful,
Mhm.
explorative, curious, seeing the world with awe and wonder. This is the energy that we're connecting to, because this is ultimately that innocence. That's the energy that is so supportive to be able to explore these parts of ourselves, right? Where we're able to see it with new eyes. There's this innocence that there is no judgment
Mhm.
because of that. So if you're feeling raw, if you're feeling moved or tender after this episode, know that that's okay. And at the same time, right, like we do have this collective space. Meaghan and I we're here. We're here to hold space. We're here to create this space for you to be able to explore yourself in a way that feels supportive, and we're here to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all. Come
That's
join
it.
us next Friday.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us inside the Venusian Womb. If this episode spoke to something within you, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review or rating. It truly helps our podcast grow and reach more beautiful souls who are on this journey of becoming.
You can also share this episode with someone who may resonate with this message. Sometimes the right words arrive exactly when needed the most. Remember, growth takes time, and everything you're becoming is unfolding exactly as it's meant to.
May this Venusian code activate the Venusian energy within you. Until next time, take a breath, trust the timing, and keep tending to the dream within.
With love, Milena and Meaghan.